Hidden next to a busy main road on the outskirts of Stoke-on-Trent lies the unassuming, grassy remains of a medieval building. This was Hulton Abbey, once a thriving Cistercian monastery. Its story is one of faith, hardship, economic ambition, and sudden downfall. Today on Curiosities of Staffordshire we journey through the centuries to uncover the hidden history revealed by its 1989 excavation, and the surprising secrets unearthed beneath the soil. Given the site as a historical curiosity, and situated in Staffordshire, I'm surprised I haven't got round to making this video sooner for this series. I was actually prompted to make this video by the discovery of some family photographs taken in 1989 during an open day at the still active excavation site, and I felt inclined to share them with you. They'll make up the background for this video for the most part. Hulton Abbey was founded in 1219 by Henry de Audley, a local nobleman with powerful ties to both church and crown. Like many Cistercian houses, it was part of the movement originating in Citeaux, France, that focused on simplicity, discipline, and self-sufficiency. But while its ideals were spiritual, rooted in the rule of Saint Benedict, the abbey's survival relied on something more earthly. The abbey couldn't survive by the will of God alone, and it needed a steady stream of income. To support themselves, the monks engaged in a wide array of economic activities. They raised sheep for the wool trade, an essential pillar of medieval England's economy, which also significantly formed part of the monks' habits, with them receiving the name the White Monks, owing to the unwashed wool that they used. They also built a fulling mill along the River Trent to process the cloth. Fulling, the process of cleansing and compacting wool, helped to produce a tighter, more durable fabric. They also operated a tannery, which produced leather goods vital to the local economy in the production of saddles and the like. By the 16th century, faced with increasing economic strain, Hulton Abbey diversified even further. The monks ventured into industries such as coal mining and smithing, which was unusual for a religious house, but reflective of the area's growing industrial potential that would be realised in the coming centuries. These ventures not only brought in much-needed funds, but also rooted the abbey more deeply in the emerging economic landscape of Staffordshire. But despite their best efforts, they couldn't shield the abbey from all of the turbulence of the wider world. The arrival of the Black Death in the 14th century was catastrophic for the economy of the country in general. Hulton Abbey was no exception, as the plague decimated the local population and left the abbey depleted of the laymen that would supply their labour. Repeated outbreaks of Black Death weakened it further, and by the 1530s, Hulton Abbey was barely a shell of its former self. The final blow came with Henry VIII's dissolution of the monasteries. By this point, Hulton Abbey, now too poor to have any leverage in ensuring its survival, was dissolved, along with many others. Its lands were seized, its buildings dismantled, the roof tiles were stripped, the bells sold off, and even the lead from the roof was melted down on site in a classic display of literal asset stripping. Archaeologists excavating the site later found a circular furnace, likely used to melt that very lead. Even the wood used to fuel this furnace, poignantly, came from the abbey's own roof beams, with nothing wasted. The monks, being left homeless, were granted some consolation in the form of a pension. The last abbot, Edward Wilkins, received a pension of around £20 a year. But the abbey itself, or what was left of it, was left to ruin. As with many former monasteries, stone from its walls was scavenged for local building projects, including the nearby Abbey Farm, which is still standing and incorporates some of the original masonry from the abbey in its walls. In the late 20th century, archaeological interest in the site was revived. Excavations from 1987 through to 1994 unearthed extraordinary finds. The remains of no less than 91 individuals were discovered on the site, most buried northeast of the church in the abbey's cemetery. While most were male, some were women and children, suggesting that the abbey served a broader community than was once thought, or at least served as a cemetery for outsiders as well as monks. Amongst the graves were some rare and beautiful artefacts, including a wax chalice, a pilgrim's staff, and a wax seal bearing the image of the Church of Santo Spirito in Rome. The seal was likely accompanied by an indulgence from the papacy, a document granting forgiveness or blessings, usually earned during a pilgrimage of penance, indicating the abbey's link to the wider Catholic Church. Inside the church, the tombs of the Audley family were found. Initially exclusive to this powerful local dynasty, who were instrumental in bringing the abbey into being, burial rights were later extended to other benefactors, whose donations helped to support the abbey. Sir James de Audley, who notably fought under Edward the Black Prince at the Battle of Poitiers in 1356, during the 100 Years' War, was buried here along with his wife near the high altar. Perhaps the most astonishing discovery was made in the late 1970s. A grim, mutilated skeleton buried in the chancel. The man had been decapitated, disemboweled, and was missing several vertebrae and a thigh bone. In 2004, further analysis linked the remains to a notorious historical political figure, Hugh Despenser the Younger. Despenser, a favourite of King Edward II and a politically ruthless nobleman, was executed in 1326 by order of the king's wife, Queen Isabella. His corpse bears the grim consequences of being hung, drawn and quartered, one of the most brutal punishments of the age, after which his body was mutilated and scattered across England. His widow was later allowed to recover some of his remains for burial, but evidently not all. The remains found at Hulton Abbey matched the missing pieces from the corpse. They were buried with honour in the chancel, a space reserved for the most important figures in the abbey's history. The abbey's ties to the Audley family, who were in-law relations to the Despensers, made it highly likely that Hulton was chosen as his final resting place. Following centuries of obscurity, the abbey's grounds became engulfed by Stoke-on-Trent's post-war suburban expansion. The Housing Act of 1919 paved the way for large-scale building projects that was only accelerated after the Second World War. Today the abbey stands as a scheduled monument, nestled amongst modern housing, just off the main road. Preserved, very loosely it has to be said, under the Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Areas Act of 1979. Despite this conservation, it remains on Historic England's at-risk register, its future uncertain without ongoing conservation efforts. Its current overgrown and neglected state is certainly not befitting of its former glory, but its glorious past continues to live on in the stories told by its stones, the relics held at the Potteries Museum and Art Gallery, and the memories of those who rediscovered this extraordinary chapter of Staffordshire's history. I do hope you've enjoyed seeing the original photos that accompanied this video, and thank you once again for exploring another curiosity of Staffordshire with me today. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more curiosities of Staffordshire, and I'll see you again very soon.